It's all in the song.
Absolutely.
So we've got a wonderful guest today.
Oh, we have, and I'll tell you what it is.
Yeah.
We've got someone who's going to be talking about ADHD, which is
Right.
really, really important.
Yeah.
But his name is more important than that, because obviously his name is Shoaib,
Yeah.
but he likes to meet on a show. So let's get the show on the road.
Shoaib with a show on the road. Try saying that with a mouthful.
I know. My name is very punerific, but
yeah, that's very welcome, and thank you for taking time.
No worries at all. Thank you. I mean, like both either way, Shoaib or Shoaib.
Yeah.
I grew up in Cardiff, so.
That's where the accent's from.
The teachers reading my register and then coming to my name and then taking a few second pause. I just thought, okay, I'll just go with show.
Sure. Yeah, why not? Mine was the full name, and they couldn't pronounce it. It was a mouthful. They said, cut it down to Kari.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, we'll stick with that.
Yeah, you always like
as long as they call you something, that's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah,
there's always like a short version, like Shaz, Baz, Show, Jack, or something.
Always, yeah. But it makes it more fun.
Yeah.
It does, instead of saying the full name. Like some people call themselves by their surname.
Yeah.
Which is that amazes me as well. Like you can't go around somebody calling, wait, Patel, come here, this one come here, or that one come here.
You call 90% of Newham.
Yeah. It would, wouldn't you? But as long as they call you, which is good enough, you have a conversation. Yeah. Well, thank you for taking time out and coming and sharing your thoughts with us today.
No worries at all. Thank you for having me.
No, pleasure. So now you know where we are. It's going to be a regular thing with us. Now, ADHD.
Yeah, bit of a mouthful.
Right, bit of a mouthful, yeah. So tell us a little bit about that, what it is and what are the symptoms and stuff.
Sure. So ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition. So a neurodevelopmental condition is it impacts the brain,
right?
And that can lead to changes in cognition or emotional, social, or physical functioning. Mm-hmm. So the way it separates from something like a mental health condition is that a neurodevelopmental condition starts from an early age onset. So we refer to that as a trait, because it's a trait, it's developed in your brain, and the symptoms and the traits and all that, they all continue on from childhood all the way to adulthood. Whereas if you compare it to something like depression or anxiety, people might experience it later in age or earlier, it's more episodic.
Right.
I think with ADHD and just neurodevelopmental conditions in general, it's becoming more and more aware. People you might see in social media talk about ADHD, and I think in that section it's really important to also talk about and think about other neurodevelopmental conditions like autism, learning disabilities, speech and language conditions. So these are all kind of all classed as neurodevelopmental conditions,
right? And
they can result in different outcomes. So someone, if you look at it like a core, like someone's diagnosed with ADHD or has ADHD traits from a young age, they find it difficult to learn or they find it difficult to integrate into social circles, then throughout their life they can develop self-esteem issues or feeling that they can't fit in or they're not completing work on time, and then these have complications as they grow up, because then they start folding in or they might resort to substances or other kind of issues. So it can impact someone's life greatly just from this kind of difference of how their brain functions, really.
So would you say that even at a young age, I mean, even if the family is like hyperactive and always like doing things, and so a child's got a ADHD, and then would you say that would show up? So usually like from 5 years onwards, but you can still kind of see, this is where we call like developmental milestones. So when someone does an ADHD assessment or autism assessment, they'll usually really have a big focus on the childhood upbringing to see, how are they walking, how are they, when were they talking, was there any delays in that? Okay.
And the most important thing about this is recognizing it from an early age. We're talking from a young age for parents. If we make the right adjustments for that person to acknowledge what they need and all that, then that will address issues that could result in self-esteem issues and could result in, maladaptive coping mechanisms such as taking drugs or resorting to crime. Whereas if someone doesn't have that recognition and doesn't have that support identified, then they can have this journey into life where they become an adult and they have all mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, and really kind of difficulties with the law, work issues. So it's really important to identify it early on age and make those changes. But similarly enough, if someone hasn't had that kind of recognition or identity growing up, then it's really important to recognize it at present age anyway. So then that's why we have a lot of people now who are like 40 above identifying with ADHD and then looking back in their life and think, oh, this is why I like this is why I'm like that.
So what about educating the parents or the family to say that this sort of things are happening or this is occurring or...
Yeah. So I think with neurodevelopmental conditions, I think the key is to really self-educate.
Yeah.
The first step to managing any of these conditions is to understand the condition, because this condition is full of traits. So ADHD is a series of traits, and these traits, like inattention, hyperactivity, impulsivity, they can vary in people.
Yeah.
So each person's ADHD will be different. So you need to understand ADHD in general, as a parent, as a person, as yourself, and then you kind of apply and understand what your needs are. So for a parent, understanding that their kid is finding difficulties in school or they're being disciplined, or that historical traditional naughty child kind of notion. It's important to understand ADHD and see what kind of resonates with the child, and then work or get in touch with the teacher.
So the teacher would recognize it.
Yeah, because the teacher is the person that will see that child in the area of functioning.
Exactly.
So ADHD and ASD, autism, is based on functioning. So school is an area of functioning, work is an area of functioning, social, isn't it? And that's all happens in school. So teachers are ideal points of contact to recognize that, and then they can then take more of a tier approach to managing or approaching that child. For instance, referring to a special needs coordinator, SENCO, in schools, and then they will then look at the child and see if they need any kind of reasonable adjustments in the classroom, and if that doesn't support them fully enough, then they might ask the parent to make a referral to the GP, and then the GP will see if they need a referral for an assessment. So it's important to know that not everyone needs, may not need a diagnosis. Because the value of a diagnosis is what does the treatment offer you and what does the diagnosis offer you. So it's kind of around that.
So would you say that where is it more visible? Is it in the Asians or the host community?
Well,
is there like a survey which has been done?
So I think it's really one of the biggest things, especially me, because I'm like Bangladeshi by background, is the recognition and understanding of mental health and neurodevelopmental conditions. There's studies and researches around the impact of stigma amongst South Asian communities, systematic reviews, narrative reviews, and how this is can impact someone's possibility of getting access to support. And it's really important. It goes both ways. So what I mean by that is, for us as in South Asian cultures, for us, we're very kind of rooted in cultural, faith and religious traditions, and that influences how we, we're very family orientated, and but there's also, and which is lovely, aspects of the culture, but there's also the side of, if someone has a mental health condition or is depressed, they're seen as pagol, or they're seen as, crazy, So, and
they brush it, they say, no,
and then they're ostracized, and then they're growing up in that environment with this kind of thinking that they don't fit in with their family, they don't fit, when aunties and uncles come over to the house, and they don't feel like they can communicate well because they have, social dysfunction in certain areas, then they're going to feel worse about themselves, and if their family is like, oh, why aren't you doing that? So I think in South Asian communities and other ethnic minorities in general, it's really important to educate yourself on these kind of conditions, like mental health conditions as well as neurodevelopmental conditions. What I meant by on the flip side, like a two-way street, is mental health services and healthcare services also need to have a better understanding of cultures.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you take person A, who is, you know, let's just say a middle-aged Asian woman, Auntie G, as I would say, and they're, you know, become very, very suspicious about jinns, and they got very suspicious about touching and doing rituals, like, you know, Islamic. People, OCD is a very kind of risk with rituals in Islamic conditions, because you know it needs, and it can be a risk for those kind of characteristics. But then if a psychiatrist who doesn't have an understanding of that person's culture could diagnose that person with psychosis, because they're alluding to supernatural beliefs and all these kind of you know, which is in our culture in a way. We think about
superstitions,
exactly, and then they're misdiagnosed. So on the flip side, mental health services and healthcare services in general need to have a much better understanding and be more informed and inquisitive and ask really transparent questions about culture. Like when I worked on the wards, I had one consultant who was white British, and he was caring for a patient who had a diagnosis of bipolar, and she at home she was kind of treated like she was possessed and obsessed and all this. Now he didn't know too much about the culture, so he actually, quite frankly, brought me in and said, can you tell me a little bit about this? And you know, people might be offended by that, but it's actually really important, because it's bettering that person's outcome by look, this is why, this is the context, and this is how we can support this person in a valuable way.
It is. You know, so things like that, superstitions are different in all the cultures, you know, be from Africa, South America, India, Asian continent, everyone's got their own beliefs. But people don't understand each other. But now, with the technology and with the experience and with, like, you know, individuals such as yourself who get around, who's been around, and you talk to different people with different cultures, backgrounds and all that, these things do come out, and you know, they're more visible.
Exactly, like we live in such an informed culture now. People can, and this is the thing again about, you know, why is ADHD a big deal? Because you know, there's so many reasons. Like the awareness has increased, social media, TikTok. I don't use TikTok, but you know, my niece and nephews are like, you know, show me it, and it's mental how much there's like a pocket of information on things, and you know, that could be a good and bad thing. You know, societal changes. Like if you think about it now, compared to like 100 years ago, we have a device which switches our attention span every second. Like 1 minute we're on WhatsApp, the next minute we're on Instagram, the next minute we're on emails, the next minute we're on something else. And if you think about using that across the first 25 years of your brain development, compared to someone who was fetching water 100 years ago, just doing one thing for the whole day, it's crazy.
And that part of the brain which hasn't been used is becoming more usable.
I mean,
slowly getting there. We'll be soon, I think in another 100 years maybe, we'll be using 100% of our brain.
The limitless film.
That's it. Just same as that. That's amazing. It will be, you know. I always say that what happened in the 60s when people used to watch Star Trek, they never thought that little walkie-talkie is going to be like
I know,
it happened.
It's incredible.
I always used to believe in that then. They said, oh, no, you're talking rubbish. That will never happen. I said it will. Anything.
That's how they're made. Like, probably people grow up in these movies and think, oh, I wonder if I can make that real.
Exactly, You know, you just need a little trigger in your mind.
Exactly.
To set something off. And that, you follow it through, you can come up with something. There's plenty to do on this planet yet. So, you know, all these, things which we have, you know, all the diseases we have, I'm sure one day they'll be very easily curable with a little machine or
hopefully.
something.
I think like with specifically with ADHD, and I always link ADHD, autism and learning disabilities in one, because I think there's so much focus on ADHD, but it's within the same concept of neurodevelopmental conditions, because someone with ADHD might also have an increased likely of having, you know, dyslexia or other learning difficulties, and alternatively they might present with ADHD symptoms, but it might actually be something else. It might be speech and language. So that's, I think, one of the big concerns around this big focus on ADHD is like,
and it's all stimulated from the brain.
Yeah, exactly. And we're still understanding the brain, how to diagnose, how to use brain imaging, and we're understanding like networks and all these kind of different areas.
We've got a brain surgeon in our family.
Oh right, wow.
So next time, I think if I have about a month's notice, I'll see if I can get him down.
Yes.
He's written quite a few books as well. I mean,
brilliant.
He's on another level when you talk to him.
Oh,
such a lovely guy, but I'm sure he knows about these things as well. So
it's fascinating, really fascinating.
It is. Well, brain is our processor, isn't it? So
yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, everything starts from there.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. Yeah.
So at that note, we'll have a little commercial break, and then we'll come right back and talk some more.
Advertise on NuSound Radio. For further details, telephone 020 8472 994.
Hey, seems like you're doing really well for yourself.
Thanks. Just moved into a brand new building which has been fully renovated and modernised. It's close to the city and close to all major transport links. It's really helped my business and I'm getting new clients every day. It's just fantastic.
I could do with a new office. I'm in the middle of nowhere and my clients are struggling to visit me.
Why don't you give Nile Business Centre a call? I'm sure they can help you on 0207 523 5318. That's 0207 523 5318. 56 to 60 Nelson Street, London, E1 2DE.
Taj Carpets, largest carpet stockholders in Ilford. Quick fitting service. Taj Carpets की fantastic deals का फायदा उठाएं. आज ही अपने घर को शानदार बनाएं. Supplies of top quality laminates, lino, carpet and much more. हमारे guaranteed low price का फायदा उठाइए. आज ही मिनाल से संपर्क कीजिए.
Taj Carpets, 2B Hickling Road off Ilford Lane. For further information, call Minal on 0203 632 1414.
Top of the range of award-winning and British-made carpets with 10 to 20-year warranty.
Don't just choose any carpet, choose Taj Carpet.
बिल्डरों के लिए special offers and special deals from Taj Carpets. Taj Carpets free estimate और free fitting ऑफर करते हैं.
Power Roofing Limited. नए रूप से रिपेयर ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ GRP waterproofing, slate roof, felt roof, UPVC fascias, lead work ਤੇ complete waterproofing with specialist staff. Established experienced roofers, Power Roofing, loft extension ਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ. Appointment book ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਹੁਣੇ ਹੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 07730798929. That is 07730798929. या कॉल करो 0207998686. Power Roofing full insured है ते अपने काम दी गारंटी भी देंगे ने. Power Roofing council तो approved है.
Today's Varasat Events, now taking bookings for 2025 and 2026. Impress your guests with exceptional food and brilliant service to make your special moments unforgettable. From birthdays and anniversaries, gatherings at home, to weddings and grand receptions at your chosen venues, we do it all. Give us a call and tell us about your special day on 0208 55 44 662. Let us at Today's Varasat Events make your event memorable.
आपके बिजनेस को चार चांद लगाने के लिए आज ही NuSound रेडियो को फोन करें. फोन 02084729994. That's 02084729994.
तारों का सबका कहना है 1000 में मेरी बहना है. सारी उम्र हमें संग रहना है. फूलों का तारों का सबका कहना है 1000 में मेरी बहना है. सारी उम्र हमें संग रहना है. फूलों का तारों का सबका कहना है.
से मेरी आँखों से हो गई तू दूर, तब से सारे जीवन के सपने हैं तू। जब से मेरी आँखों से हो गई तू दूर, तब से सारे जीवन के सपने हैं दूर। आँखों में नींद ना, मन में चैना है, 1000 में मेरी बहना है, सारी उम्र हमें संग रहना है, फूलों का तारों का।
As it's रक्षाबंधन tomorrow, फूलों का तारों का सबका कहना है, 1000 में मेरी बहना है। Everybody celebrating Rakshabandhan tomorrow. And we've got Shoaib and Shahid in the studio talking about ADHD. And we found all these answers, all these questions we had in our mind. I hope they got answered. The symptoms and what it is and what it does and how it affects the family and the individual as well. So Shoaib, as we were saying earlier, I mean, you've told us a lot about ADHD. I'm getting it wrong.
We'll have to get you assessed.
I know. Maybe after the show. Yeah. But yeah, you were telling us all these things about the symptoms. Mm-hmm. And now, is there any cases which you've come across where which you had to diagnose and go through the procedure?
Yeah. So I think like I said previously, it needs a bit of a tier approach, like a step approach. So like first step is always education, recognizing the condition, and then seeing your life around you. So with ADHD, it's based on functional impairment, and that can change throughout life. So if you think about it, someone from a childhood who in their childhood that is in school, everything's very regimented and structured, and then when they go into high school it's a little bit more loose, and then when they go into college it's a little bit more loose, then university, then they start work. So throughout the years of growing up, they're what we call scaffolding in work, mental health services. It reduces, so then that person is having this lack of structure, having to deal with things on their own, and that's when we see a lot of people coming into services, because they're coming into adult life with work and they have all these responsibilities, they have to meet deadlines, they have to work with a manager, and then they're not performing because they don't have this kind of structure, and that's where we kind of see a big cohort of people. So that's kind of the main kind of trajectory, but I have so recognizing the condition and then making those adjustments would be the first step.
Right.
In terms of think about diagnosis, it's the value of diagnosis. It's like looking at when does someone need treatment. So it's similar to like OCD. So like OCD is based on impairment. So like for instance me, if I might like things straight and I might like put things in order and stuff. But it's not really impairing my life. But if it takes me 2 hours to leave my house because I'm checking things, I'm checking the bathroom 3 times, then that's causing an impairment, right? So that's when you're looking, okay, this might benefit from a diagnosis. Similar with ADHD. If it's really impairing your work and making you feel like you're not performing and it's having an impact on your mental health, your self-esteem, your family relations, then you might benefit. So I have that's the type of people we see that come in that want to get assessed to see if a diagnosis. Personally, in the UK, people probably know that there is very, very long waits for ADHD assessments, and you have the NHS pathways which have waiting times over 10 years. Like in Newham, we have an over 8-year wait.
Oh wow!
So just for people to know who are listening in, there are different pathways to obtain an assessment, which is through what we call the Right to Choose pathway.
Right.
So the Right to Choose pathway is an NHS scheme which allows people to choose where they can get their treatment if they can't get their treatment within a reasonable time in their locality. Does that make sense? So they go to their GP saying, I want to go through the Right to Choose pathway. The GP will be like, okay, here's a list of providers. They're usually private, they can be NHS, but they're all commissioned by the NHS, so they're all funded, so you don't have to pay.
You don't,
So, so those are kind of the ways to support.
Why is the waiting list so long, do you think?
It's because there's been such an increase, like in Newham, in 2021 we had about 50, 60 people waiting for an assessment, and in 2024 or 5, like this year, we have over 1,200. And that's because of the awareness, the social media, people being resonating with it. You know, after COVID, that's increased as well, because during COVID lockdown, people are, you know, in one room, they're not having this sensory stimulation, they're not having this routine and structure that they have at work, and they're realizing that they're not able to move as much. So it's shot up, and NHS funding has not really changed in terms of providing teams with resources. So our team's very small. So we need to change the way we're working in a way, because we need to kind of look at how we can support people, not just diagnose medication, but other things. But yeah, I mean, I have a case with you know, a case that I think that, you know, like I said, people with varying severity of ADHD and traits can all go through the same process. Like one particular person I had is a 30-year-old man, and he was diagnosed with ADHD as a child, but then he had the treatment, was prescribed treatment, which is the medication, which would be stimulant medication, so it helps increase the chemicals that help his kind of focus. And he stopped taking it at the age of 12 because, you know, for various reasons, thinking it's changing him, thinking he doesn't want to be in school taking meds or that. And then the next 15 years of his life, he was unmedicated, essentially.
No way.
And the ways, you know, when I was talking about earlier, how people who are untreated or, you know, manifest, he, you know, got into drugs, got into alcohol, you know, impulsivity and anger is quite prominent in people with ADHD. So, like, he'd get into fights very easily, and, you know, people with ADHD are quite impatient. So if you're driving around in Ilford or like or somewhere in London, you're going to take a different road to be quicker, and then if you take a different road, then you're not looking who's behind you, you get into a crash, that causes financial issues. So, you know, all these complications are coming from, you know, so I saw him as a couple of months ago, 30 years old, and every appointment we'd have, literally, he would say, I got into a fight this morning, I got into a crash this morning. So, and he's the kind of population where, you know, really severe symptoms. Like, he couldn't sit still. He'd be walking around.
All the time.
Walking around in the room. You know, in mental health services or healthcare services, we have like a red button, like an alarm. If something, you know, and he saw it. He saw it's a red button, and he just pressed it. So the whole alarm went, and there was nothing really going on. He just saw the red button, and just like, you know, everyone came in the room saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And it's like, yeah, no, just he. So there's a lot of you know, difficulties experienced day to day. And, you know, we started looking at therapy, psychoeducation, what we can help them with, and, you know, like I said, the stepped approach, looking at reasonable adjustments. And when we started him on a medication, he actually didn't like it, because, you know, people with ADHD also like the way they are. They're up and down. They like being kind of hyper. They like being creative. They like being... So he was like, oh, I don't really like this. I feel a bit, you know, sad, or I feel that I'm thinking too much about things. Whereas people with ADHD, they might have an argument with their mum in the morning and then forget about it in a minute. Whereas he's having that argument and thinking, oh, what did I... So it's a lot of counselling around it. Like, okay, you remember what you did earlier, and you're thinking about it, but that's positive, because you're thinking about what did you do and how can you avoid that.
Why did you?
So then it's kind of making positive
questioning himself, basically.
Exactly. So now he's hopefully now improving the way he kind of communicates.
Well, that's good.
And those are the kind of things that we want to kind of do. And, you know, people come in and out. The prison population is a massive population that have undiagnosed ADHD, and they're coming in and out. They're making impulsive crimes. They're making impulsive drugs. You know, drug muling and all that stuff, and they're like separate from people in the community. Like, people released from prison, they don't even know how to register with a GP. So it's really important to kind of target those kind of populations, and I think that's what the government and NHS services are trying to do now.
No, it is fascinating, you know, when you hear cases like that, and that's a lot of people can relate themselves to that, and then finding a cure and seeing the symptoms, it's on another level, because it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, and unfortunately with ADHD, you know, there's no like kind of a rectifying cure. Like, the brain is in a certain way, but it's all about looking about how you can change your life to accommodate for your, and what we say, sublimate, like make that trait better. So like, an addictive trait could be bad for, drugs, gambling and all that, but it also could be good for business. It could be good for work. It could be good. So it's making the ADHD traits in a positive way. Because people might not be in the right frame of work. If someone with ADHD might not be good at certain kind of jobs that require a lot of admin, a lot of administrative.
Steering them into the right area or the right.
And that, so it's just not just about medication. It's really about what can you do in your life to make it more functioning and better for you.
There's always room for people like that in society, as long as they understand what they're doing. They need to steer themselves or gear themselves into that direction.
Yes, exactly.
We've got a listener, Geetaji. Thank you very much for your comments. It is a very good subject to discuss, ADHD, and thank you very much for your comments on that, Geetaji. Keep tuned in and tell all your friends as well.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's a lady who tuned in and she said, "Oh, brilliant. Can I get the speaker's email, please?" So we'll be giving all the details.
Sure.
Afterwards, we'll be giving all the details. We're just talking about the symptoms and the cures, and all the information will be at the end. So,
definitely,
if that helps.
And I do encourage people. There's so much like books, and obviously, people with ADHD might not want to read books, but there's podcasts, there's videos. You just make sure you like I said, the risk of like TikTok and everyone giving out information. Just make sure the sources, the sources you're looking at have got some kind of credibility. Because there is that risk of thinking, everything is ADHD, when it could be, diabetes. If someone's hypoglycemic, they might be a bit jittery, hypoglycemic, and could be thyroid disorders. So
all of that,
that's why you need kind of a really thorough medical assessment.
Yeah, no, definitely, because with social media, it's brilliant, but you've got to pick the right. And like you said, which is credible source that's supplying the information, because a lot of people do look at it. Would you say that people with the ADHD are more visual than like reading literature? Would you say that they're sort of more acceptable to watching a video or something like that, to say this is
it's interesting. So
like filming them and say this is how you behave. This is you.
I mean, I think it can be, definitely, but like I said, with ADHD and ASD, autism, it varies a lot. So someone with ADHD might have communication difficulties, so they might have learning difficulties, they might have dyslexia, but someone with ADHD also might be able to read okay, but they just need to focus. So it does vary, but usually people, being more visual learners is quite common. So like being more engaged, and it's all about the interest. So ADHD, the actual deficit, the attention and deficit hyperactive disorder, the deficit part is not actually too accurate, because people with ADHD can focus, but it's just about selective attention. So people with ADHD, they used to say in the past, if you can watch a film, then you don't have ADHD, but that's not necessarily the case, because if you have interest in the film, you can focus, because you go into this hyper-focus state of mind. It's like a flow state. So, my wife, she's really good at embroidery, and she just locks in. And I always say to her, she's undiagnosed ADHD, and so she can lock into that and focus. But other things she might struggle with. So it's all about recognizing, putting interest in it. So if you're watching a video, it might be more interesting. So you might focus more. Whereas if you're reading a textbook, it might be really, really boring.
Exactly.
Or make it with colors and like big. So it's really just changing the environment around you to accommodate your functioning.
Definitely.
From what you just described, I mean, when we talked about autism, if you remember, Tyree, one of the things we learned from that is that just like anyone else in the world, they're just different people. And they have slight differences. And we need to, as a community and parents and grandparents, we need to accommodate that. And I think that's a better way to look at it, rather than saying, this particular person is different to everyone else.
Exactly.
Because that's very inclusive as well. It's very, very important.
Exactly. And that again goes back to the cultural, the stigma and all that. We need to kind of really try and move. There's so much beautiful things about South Asian culture and other cultures in general. But I think what we want to do is promote and excel our kind of children and people in general so then we can understand and we can like really kind of flourish. And by doing that is really kind of recognizing differences, but then also thinking, this is what this person needs, instead of saying, oh no, this person doesn't speak, just put them in the other room or something like that.
Or ignore them. They'll be sitting there, but they'll be ignored.
Yeah,
by the whole family. Yeah, then no one will talk to them.
Exactly, and then they take that outside. They just think, oh, I'm just going to not talk to anyone. This is my life, and then they become depressed. They might resort to
and vulnerable as well. You know, if the family's not looking after them, then somebody else shows them love.
Yeah,
the wrong type of person. Then they can.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. Intention might be like I know like mothers might want to really kind of care for their children a lot, mollycoddle them, and and that's the way love is. Like we share love with food and like giving and all this, but sometimes it's about, are we enabling them with this, or do we need to kind of support them and make them progress? Like I had definite difficulties with that. Like going into uni, I had to learn so much. I still didn't learn.
Nobody does. Yeah,
but you touched upon something which is very powerful, because it's about mothers.
Yeah.
So I always find if we can, and I'm talking about mothers in a general thing, so men can be mothers as well. Yeah, the whole idea is that mother figure. Yeah. So it's more about teaching the whole community how to be mothers. I always say to people, the best people who could, so you'll have someone who's academically trained and they'll talk to you about equity. And they'll say, this is equity, and they'll give you something that you won't understand. The easy way to understand equity, as far as I can see, is that if people are trained to be mothers. Now, mothers are brilliant. Because they walk into a room, they've got 4 children, they know exactly what each child wants according to their taste. They know how to work it out.
Multitasking.
Yeah. And so we need to create more mothers. So people who know, who can go and say to people, oh, this particular child of mine, he's not special or anything like that. He's just like the other kids, but I need to provide for him according to his.
I mean, that's the thing. I think that's one of the beauties of cultures. Is that there is such a reassurance of love in families, and like doesn't matter what and we might even take the mick out of each other, but that there's an undertone of reassurance and love. Like there's a different type of language and tone in cultures, whereas in a different context it might be seen, oh, you're like you're insulting me and all this, but in cultures it's actually just like we're just doing this because it's out of love.
That's it.
I think the difficulty does lie is that once you're moved out of your mother's zone, if you like,
comfort zone,
because in the world of work, maybe you can answer this. I mean, in the world of work, are we working with employers to actually explain to them that this is the traits that you need to follow? I mean, a lot of the people we work with, particularly our community, we know Tari, they're working in 0-hour contracts. They're working in very difficult places where the employer is not really interested in finding out more about you. There's just how much money are you bringing to them?
How much work you're doing. Exactly.
No, I totally. It's a really kind of difficult, isn't it? The focus on getting the money in any way possible as a first priority. People don't have the space and time to kind of look into, oh, what do I like doing, or what could be good for me long term. There's just that very kind of society where we live in now, is that we need this now, we need to and there's always kind of difficulties for ethnic minorities to kind of flourish in work environments, and that's something that don't really know the answer to, if I'm honest. But I think we need to kind of find more ways of support and educating kind of in terms of a grassroots kind of upbringing, because there's so much positive, like when aunties and uncles came over when I was younger, we were like forced to you have to say hello to them, you have to accommodate them, you have to, even if you don't want to, even if you can't. But then you take that characteristic into a work environment, you're networking, you're speaking to people you don't really know, and so there's a lot of positives of the culture that we can bring in, and we become more kind of able to speak to people that probably people who didn't bring up in that environment won't be more inclined to. So there's a lot of positives around the culture that we have, and how we can bring that into the work environment. So I think it's just about recognizing the potential in us and recognizing what's out there for us. And we have also, when I went back to my previous point about mental health services, understanding cultures, like we need more about culture in these services, because that's what helps bridge the gap. me speaking to someone from a South Asian Bangladeshi background, there's an understanding there. There's a layer of kind of context. So having people from those areas of background is really important to kind of support in those mental health services, because that's what will help that person feel reassured and all this,
And this is, I always say this, and we've been working with public health for a period of time. First of all, let's accept there's been some brilliant work. Also accept there's been lots of things that we've not achieved, and there's lots of things that we still have to learn. One of the things which is really, really important, and it's this big difference between what we call interpretation and someone who's from the community. So when you get someone from the community who understands, we can understand silences. And we're very good at understanding silence. When no one is saying anything, that means thousands of words, and lots of people can't understand that. And that's very, very important, because if I'm going through a difficult time, the last thing I'm going to say is something. I'm going to say something, and you're going to be able to read that, because you're from that community. You understand that. You pick that up and you say, "This is what he means."
Exactly.
And people from another community are going to say, "But they didn't say anything." What do you mean by that?
No, exactly.
You know the saying, "Aqda ishare kafi hai." That's it.
Speaking with the eyes.
That's it. It says everything.
Exactly.
Right, we need to wrap things up now. Shoaib, give us the information where people can get in touch. Email, contact.
Of course. So I think
4 minutes.
Brilliant. So I think if someone's looking to understand ADHD within the area, the borough of Newham, then if you just Google ADHD East London Foundation Trust, it will take you to a web page. And the East London Foundation Trust is a mental health trust that covers East London, and that's the areas of Hackney, Newham and Tower Hamlet. And they will have a lot of information on ADHD, resources, self-help materials, contacts. And I think that's a really good starting point. And all the contact details for the services, local services is also there. But I really recommend just going onto that website. It's very kind of user friendly as well. There's pictures and like downloadable kind of book PDFs and stuff. So that is, I would say, is the first point of looking into it before anything else, I think. And then you have your YouTube videos with books, ADHD 2.0, but I think John Raichley is a really good book to learn, to read, and I think, have a read about it, see if it resonates with you or your child or your loved one, and then take it from there, really. In terms of contacts, it's all on that website as well, if you want to get in touch with us. And then, we can support you in kind of other ways of how you can get support within your area from your GP. There's a lot of issues, as we know, from the government right now with funding and GPs not having enough money. So you might feel that you're hitting a brick wall sometimes, but just know that GP on the other side, they're very stressed. They have a lot of money issues. They don't have much time. So get in touch with us if you're having difficulties communicating what you need. Because again, it's that if you're from a different culture, there's a way of trying to understand how we need to kind of communicate, convey what we need to get out of primary care services.
Definitely. Well, Shoaib, thank you very much for all of the information and all of the chatting today. It's unbelievable how things are in front of your face, but you don't realize unless somebody tells you. It's amazing. No, that's wonderful, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. It's been great.
Thank you very much. And Shahid?
Thank you so much. Next week, and next week, I just want to remind people we're having 17th of August. We're now moved to East Ham Town Hall. They've upgraded us.
Brilliant.
So we're having a Azadi program for both our nations. Lots of music, lots of Muhammad Rafi songs, and lots of discussion.
Absolutely.
And we have a special guest who's going to come in, and she's going to talk about her book. And that's a very good friend of mine. I won't mention her name. If you need to go to the website blossom-group.net.
Or call us in the studio.
Or call Tari in the studio.
And then we can pass on the information as well. And Jidna Saguji is going to be bombing away there. Absolutely. Fantastic. So we'll leave it at that. Coming up next is Pargan with the Punjabi program, and keep him busy and keep his Punjabi Gane, traditional, uprooted. And we leave you with Kala Chashma. We're going to get a couple of seconds of that. Take care. Bye-bye from me and the gang.
Cheers. Thank you.